Hey, okay, so I was just speaking to Poe and she asked a really interesting question. And sometimes somebody asks me a question and I get really excited because I realise that that's something I wanted to know and then I found out, and it's like, it's like going, oh, I've got the knowledge for some things that are related to this that might help, and I was really grateful and it really improved my circumstances to find this out for us. So it's like this excitement to to go into it, and I was going to launch into a series of voice notes, and then I thought about it and I was like, maybe maybe I'll vlog, because then I'll have the information to watch back for when I need it, because this is still stuff that we're learning and I'm learning to do. So no, I don't set up before I've sat down and switched the camera on. It just, this is me realising, hey, I'm sitting on a bunch of jackets, I'm uncomfortable, my chair squeaks, that bothers me, the light's a bit washing out. We move as we go, we learn. So the question was, how am I learning and trying to slow down a bit? Because the reason for this question was that I mentioned we'd had a therapy session recently, and it had been a topic I discussed with our therapist, where sometimes I get like an angsty sort of sped up feeling, like I feel the need to speed through things and not pause and kind of keep going. Like, I might clean a room, and instead of like sitting there sort of appreciating that I cleaned the room, I might go on to clean like all the rooms in the house and then burn out and be exhausted. And it's like this go, go, go feeling, like I can't sort of slow it down. It's the same with like watching back our vlogs. It's getting to the point where like now, I think as long as I'm processing emotionally, I naturally slow down. I think that I speed up to avoid processing emotionally was what we'd landed on in therapy. So like, if I watch loads of our vlogs instead of just the one, then like speed running through them is kind of a way to not feel and to just kind of keep like fucking impacting us so that I don't digest the things that I've just watched and felt and listened to. So I think the urge to just speed through things and keep going is kind of protectively avoidant of feeling things, because if we go through things quickly, we can't feel things as much. So paradoxically, it's kind of, I think, looking at what I've just written down when I asked this question to myself, I think that the solution is like, I think it ties in. So I asked, how am I learning and trying to slow down a bit? And what I came to first was slow the body. I realise that I try to catch my breathing and my movements just in as many moments throughout the day as I can, just whenever I catch them. I might write it on the backs of my hands so that I catch it more often. But yeah, just slow my breathing. I slow my movements, so instead of making like agitated, quick, jumpy movements, I'll try and like slow down and smooth out the movements I'm making. I slow the rate of my blinking and looking around, and this is specifically because I remember reading something a while ago, years ago, so don't quote me, do your own research, always, but to fact check, if that's advised, there's not an order, because, fuck the authoritarian vibes. I remember reading something that was like, anxiety can be induced by rapid movements. So like if I was gonna, I think specifically eye movements. So I looked this up and I found this out because my dog is fearful of other dogs, one of them. So whenever we're in a location that could have other dogs in, I am scanning and surveying the area. And my anxiety would get heightened if I like sort of, like lots of rapid movements. Even just doing it now, it feels like it heightens me. And so I read something about it that seemed to conclude the same, that it's better to take slow, sweeping looks around. So whenever I survey the area, I try to like survey it like a deer. little facetious fawn behaviours here and there. I like it. And that does reduce my anxiety a little bit. So it's the same for like when I'm trying to slow things down and communicate. First I communicate to my body that there's no urgency, and I do this through the physical movements we're making, because I imagine it has a biological basis, because if I'm looking around agitated and quick, there's probably some danger somewhere, and there's probably quite a bit of danger somewhere, and I'm trying to like take it all in at once. Maybe I'm already panicking. So it's like the same movements will feed the thought patterns that they provoke, if that makes sense. They did a study where they gave a bunch of people antidepressants, and they Botoxed a bunch of people so that they couldn't frown, so they had to smile. And it had similar results. I can't remember the exact results, but I know that it showed that adopting body language typical of an emotional state can provoke that emotional state. Like, it works in reverse feedback. So slow down the body, slow down my breathing, moving, blinking, looking, talking. And that's not easy. That's like, when you first try it, it's as hard as it gets. It only gets easier from there. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, until eventually it becomes kind of soothing. And once it becomes internally rewarding and not just like work, once you get payoff for it, then it's kind of easier to catch and do, but I'm still in the in-between states there, so it's still kind of difficult. Also, if you were repeatedly drowned out, talked over, dismissed, ignored, invalidated throughout life, there's a high likelihood that you're maybe trained to talk quickly, because there is the subconscious belief, maybe core belief, that you're not worth listening to, and that nobody's going to listen to you if you don't speed through your sentences. So I find when I get to talking, like slowing my body down is hard. It makes everything in me want to speed up more, and I find myself having to kind of stay with the breathing and the moving. I find something that helps me to do these things is a mix between being mindfully in my body and trying to be more engaged with the sensations that I'm feeling and experiencing as I do these things. Because if the experiences are more full, I've noticed I tend to slow down a bit more naturally, because I guess there's more to process and I can't cram as much in, so maybe those things seem to work together. I've noticed that I get feelings of uncertainty that I have to work through, and something that can help as well as staying with the sensations and like going from one sensation to the next, physically being in my body, is adopting desired traits into my ego. Because if something becomes like, is it egotonic, or ego dystonic is not related to I can't remember what it's called. If something matches and aligns with who you want and see yourself to be, we find it very difficult to let go of it, and usually this can get in the way and be a total, like, fucking pain in the ass when it comes to holding core beliefs. If we feel like we're losing a sense of identity by losing them, it can make them really hard to let go. Also, it can make it really easy to adopt new traits you want if you can just... I visualize iconic characters that I see and go goals to. And again, somehow, I come back to the Borderlands sirens. I just do. And I come back to certain, like, fucking badass female leads, and one trait I notice is a lot of them speak slowly, as if they know they're going to be listened to, and they know they're worth hearing, no matter what rate they talk at. It commands a sort of... the confidence commands a sort of attention anyway. And I think about that as I'm doing it. It doesn't make the agitation less. It does make me want to work harder to achieve it. And it makes it... it gives me, like, some motivation. It really feels like I could fight through a lot more to do it, because it brings me closer to who I see myself and want myself to be, the sort of version of me that I see myself as ideally and want myself to be able to encompass. And when I feel the desire to speed off and the agitation building because I'm slowing down, I kind of double down and try and keep it out of my brain, because it can feel like there's fucking bees in my head, which may be part of the ADHD. But either way, it makes me feel like I just want to speed up again with my talking, with my movements, with everything. So instead, I try to locate where that agitation feels like it sits in my body and physically breathe into that sensation. It feels a bit like jittery static in my guts, stomach, guts. A bit like I've got way too much sherbet just sitting in my guts and TV static, and it's not good. And so I just kind of feel into that sensation. I try to feel it as intensely as I can in my body without thinking about or analysing it. I try to just feel it. And I find myself tensing into it with it as it intensifies in me, and that seems to make it process through. It gets to a peak and it drops off again. And I breathe. Usually into it, and there may be a couple of repeats of this. Every so often. While I'm slowing things down, it might happen a few times per... Sometimes my brain just seems to notice it and goes, oh, this is too slow, fucking speed up, fucking... And just breathe into the uncomfortable anxiety of bees and popping candy in my guts, and think about how I like the way it feels and sounds, and how it is goals to speak in a slow and confident manner. And it kind of burns, but it gets easier, I promise. It's so worth it. And then for slowing down, I slow the mind next. as much of it as is in my control. I don't try and slow other people's thoughts or like tell anyone else in here to do it. I just let them pass without attaching, and slow mine down like this. Because if they race and speed off, they can end up looping, and that can be more aggravating. So sometimes the only thing I can do is like reverb slow my thoughts. That does a similar thing with the agitation, I find. So then I go back to feeling where the sensation is in my body. Usually it's in the same place. Breathe into it, feel it, let it pass through me, repeat. Mix and match and repeat as needed. It's a lot all at once at first, and then as you go through it and they all tie together and complement one another, it kind of all takes hold at once. And it gets easier. You don't have to talk like public speaking slow. Just a little slower than normal wherever you catch it. I find it helps to apply a great deal of like low expectations for my goals, high praise for achieving those low expectations, and a lot of like catching it for a couple of seconds in one day is fantastic. If I sit there and feel bad, like, oh, I didn't do it for that much, I didn't slow down that much, that will only make me more averse to trying again. So really notice and register and appreciate all levels of successes. Hold absolutely zero expectation of like, I have to slow down my sentence the whole day or for an hour or like loads slower than usual. Nah. That has not helped me. That did not spark joy. And then just feeling emotions in my body. Like I find when I'm speeding off through things, usually, as I said, it's kind of to avoid my emotions. So then I'm like, well, what's lurking there that I'm avoiding? A lot, apparently. And so I check specific spots, like my chest and just below my chest, and then my guts, that kind of, and my throat. There's kind of like a bit there in my core where I'm likely to be able to feel sensations that I can feel around, and maybe journal, adding descriptors of how I would how I describe them, I guess, and then eventually I land on what emotion they may be. With practice, I come to know which sensation is which and where it usually sits. Like, I know that grief used to feel like I was just fucking apple cored and like hollow through my chest and numb, and that's because I imagine the body was like had natural painkillers there because there was so much pain otherwise. And nowadays it tends to just feel like a massive chunk of ice crushing my chest. But somehow also kind of relieving once I acknowledge it there. So you don't always have to like journal to work out what sensation is what, but maybe at first. And so yeah, feel the emotions in my body as sensations, check into specific places. Once I identify what I'm feeling, I acknowledge and name what I'm feeling. And then I sit with it for like, it doesn't have to be long, like 30 seconds, a minute. I've started to make a little agreement with myself that I'm going to sit with this for like a minute. Then I'm going to speed off again or go do whatever I was doing. So I just basically go through that entire process whenever I want to slow down. And then I find once I get to the point of like being aware and brought into my body where the sensations and emotions lie, I kind of feel so heavy and so full and not light and floaty and flitting away and not wanting to, it changes. Instead of all that, I tend to feel heavy and like I'm lifting weights, and I kind of naturally slow down on my own. I think the key I'm finding is not to force anything and to be respectful of resistance and just widen the parameters a little bit at a time. Now I want to cry. I'm experiencing a lot of grief at the minute, so like I was also flitting away from my body apparently, and now I'm back in it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I was not sat here. Okay. I'm gonna maybe listen to some music. I'm really glad I recorded this as a vlog, holy shit. I hope you're all having a I say all like I just was gonna send this to you, but now I've addressed you in a video as well. Oh no. But I think this could be useful, so I'm gonna upload it publicly. So yeah, I hope you're all having a really good day, or a minimally shit day. I hope that things are as good as they could possibly be. We hope that you're able to find time to slow down and be with yourselves as much as needed, and that you're also allowing of yourselves to take breaks from the intensity of working through shit and feeling emotions without feeling any guilt or like you should be doing anything different. Much love.